Until I came through rehab, really,
Okay.
and started my recovery from addiction and everything else, that I started to think, this is when I'm good. Like, as shit as I feel right now, Jesus, that's some good work, you know? So it was like a gift wrapped in shit.
Welcome to Beyond the Beers. Conversations with men that break the stereotype. We men love a good yarn, some banter, even better over a beer, or 10. Sadly though, for many men, it never goes beyond that, if at all. Beyond the Beers is a place for men to actually go beneath the surface level chat, to learn, to listen, to laugh, and grow. I'm your host, Mike Campbell, author, men's coach, and founder of the School of Personal Mastery for Men. Let's break through stereotypes together. Let's go Beyond the Beers.
So Nick, welcome to Beyond the Beers, buddy.
Thanks, Mike. It's been my lifelong dream. I can't believe it's happening.
Wow, that's phenomenal. So mate, first of all, it is great to have you here. I'm incredibly grateful because you have come here because you saw, you know, what I'm trying to do here and what this is about. And obviously, I know you could resonate with it, and we've chatted about it and so on. I think a lot of the guys in the audience got a lot from your talk earlier, and nods and little moments of kind of I can relate to that and that kind of stuff. So now I'd like to go a little bit deeper.
Okay.
Or we'll tangent. We'll see where we go. So you shared an amazing and very real story earlier. I haven't read your book yet, right? Reboot Your Thinking. So I'm interested to know a little bit more about the book and what from you and your life and your story has made it into that.
A lot.
Yeah.
You know, we talk a lot about the under the surface stuff, and from my point of view, the book is pretty much as under the surface as you can get. The first chapter is the hardest thing I've ever written, and a lot of people have told me it's the hardest thing they've ever read because it's all there, all the trauma, all the yuck, you know.
Yep.
So the book is basically a 28-day guide, sort of, with a theme each day of things that I concentrate on to reboot my thinking when my thinking becomes unhelpful and destructive and shit, which is quite often. So if I continue to just, and you know, the themes like resilience, fun, shame, pain, anger, you know, good stuff and bad stuff, that I can just concentrate on and be mindful of for a 24-hour period, because I only live in 24-hour periods these days, and then I go to the next one and so on. The book was a long time coming, but very quickly written, actually.
Okay. Can you give us details on that? Context?
Yeah. So
what is quickly written for you?
I wrote the book in about 2 months. Well, about 3 months from me starting to write it to it being in my hands.
Yep.
Which was incredible. And it just flowed out of me, really. Having said that, and I mentioned this morning too that when my depression is at its worst, my creativity is at its best, and most of that book was written when I was under the blanket, like quite literally.
Yep.
So it was just a sort of shit time to produce something actually quite cathartic, you know.
Yeah.
And now that it's kind of out there, and people are buying it that I don't know, not just my family and friends, which is nice. I'm not constantly, but I'm occasionally, you know, see it in the wild, you know, or some random person who I've got no connection with at all sends me a really nice message, and I find it quite empowering, actually.
Very nice. So then you just, you know, shared this earlier with us around your creativity as when your depression is at its, you know, deepest, I suppose.
Yep.
Was that something you always knew? Has it taken you a long time to be aware to that? How did you come to it? And when do you become aware to it in the moment?
I think it's, you know, I try to speak in the I as much as I can, right? I try not to generalize, but I feel like a lot of creatives do their best work when they're probably not the best versions of themselves. And for me, I never put those two things together until I sat down. Well, until I came through rehab, really.
Okay.
And started my recovery from addiction and everything else, that I started to think, this is when I'm good. Like, as shit as I feel right now, Jesus, that's some good work, you know? So it was like a gift wrapped in shit, really. So, which is actually one of the chapters in the book. But yeah, like it really was that, you know, if you don't pick it up and have to unwrap all that crap, you'll never get to the good stuff inside.
You're right. So what about now? How does that play out in your life? When you've got perhaps like a project or something on, I know you've mentioned you live day to day, right?
Yeah, so
and there's a
deadlines.
creative need or there's a detailed focus need, do you just have to flow with
Yep.
what you come up against?
Yep, I have deadlines like everyone does, but part of my mental illness being a gift to me is that I'm really good at deadlines.
Yep.
But where a normal person might have a deadline here and they just sort of work calmly towards it for a few weeks, I just do nothing. And then 2 hours before I'll do all the work, and so because sometimes I just can't do it, and I can't do a really good job of it. Like the decks that I speak for a living, the presentations that I have in my slides, they're always done on the plane,
Yeah.
on the way, or in an Uber sometimes from the airport. But I never miss them.
Yeah.
But because I can't rely on being creative 100% of the time,
Yeah.
or not good anyway.
Yep. So when you get the windows, you dive in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I tend to, I was talking to somebody else this morning about how they do really good work consistently for a long time, and I do that. Like if I'm on a roll, then I can. A few days writing the book were 24-hour days.
Yeah. So you're just playing what's in front of you, essentially.
That's all I can do.
I'm creative now, so I'm rolling with it.
Yep.
That deadline might have to hold because I'm in this right now.
And sometimes I just have to say I can't do it today.
Yep.
I don't want to do it today.
Yep.
I don't have the space for it. I don't have the capacity for it. I just want to play something with my kids on the floor today.
So for those of us here or watching that experience that, it might not be through any kind of mental illness, but I'm not feeling it today, right? I know personally it can, but it certainly used to a lot more create, maybe self-judgment and that kind of stuff, like, come on, words like, this is bad, you need to be doing something else, right? So would you have any advice from your own perspective on how you approach that?
Again, just speaking my own context, I just have to do what I can do at the time, and that is, like, I could create work all the time. I could create things all the time consistently, but it'd be consistently pretty mediocre.
Yep.
There'd be little spikes of greatness, but there'd be some pretty deep troughs as well. So I just have to, and I feel like I write that story for you as I'm a supplier to you for this, for instance. I get to write that story. So if my story becomes enough that I'm a little bit unreliable, I'm a little bit flaky, I'll hit the deadline, but don't expect me to answer 6 calls a day, which I'm saying to you, but I'm just saying generally, you know what I mean? And so you create that brand.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of 2017, is that we can actually create our own brands. I don't have to be my dad.
Yeah.
Or his mates, or, I don't have to, I'm sitting here on a Saturday with a room full of dudes talking about our feelings, and I've got thongs and a t-shirt, and I'm just taking my expensive footwear off. I have created that brand. We can create our own brand. Thank God,
And so this is obviously something that you do in terms of marketing, right? Exterior.
It's branding,
So, and something that I talk about, a lot in my coaching program, the School of Personal Mastery, is we teach people how to treat us, right? Which is essentially kind of what you're talking about there. So in and around some of the bigger moments in your life that you shared with us earlier around, your condition, addiction, all that kind of stuff, how have you found the transition in and around the people in your life in that regard?
About giving them...
Yeah, so, looking after you, honouring you, making sure that you're not trying to please others, and this is how you can interact with me.
Hardest thing in the world is for humans, and I will generalise just for a moment, for humans not to be codependent, right? Not to be, I'll be what you want me to be, but fuck, you've got to be what I want you to be too. Like that's how a relationship has to be. There can't be any flexibility in that, or I feel like people always. Blokes less, I think, maybe, but people always put other people in front of them, even if it's just their feelings or their thoughts or their opinions before mine. And I sort of think about it as this pyramid, right? And people sort of say to me a lot, you've got 4 little kids, you have a wife, you have businesses, you must be fucking well down the list in this pyramid of love and attention and devotion. And that's not true.
From yourself, you mean?
From me.
Yeah.
I'm the top.
Yep.
I have to be at the top. I spent 44 years not at the top, and that didn't really serve me that well. So now everything I think about doing, every decision I make in my life, my first consideration, even with my beautiful wife and beautiful children, my first consideration is this going to help me?
Yeah.
Because if I'm not being the best version of myself at the top of that pyramid, I'm fuck all use to anyone underneath it. And everybody, in my opinion, everybody should be at the top of their own pyramid. You know, otherwise you get into this codependent thing where, oh, you know, he'll be all right. I tried to get him to do this. I'm trying to change her, whatever it might be, instead of just going, look after yourself. I had a really hard conversation last week with a mate of mine whose mate, who I don't know, told him he wanted to kill himself. He felt suicidal. And my mate was like, I don't know what will I do? You know, I want to go over there and I want to do this and I'm like, you want to save him? And he's like, yes. I'm like, that's not your fucking job. Like, your job is to be the best version of you. For when he comes out of that or not, and he says to my mate, I'm putting my hand up now, I need you. He wants to be the best. He wants you to be the best version of yourself, not some destroyed emotional thing because he's invested so much time trying to fix and save someone. You know that the best quote about codependency that I've ever seen is, it's like asking somebody else how I feel. You know, like how do I feel today? You tell me how I'm going to reflect, because I'll reflect your mood.
Absolutely.
Every day I'll do that unless I put myself at the top of the pyramid.
And I'm glad you pointed that out, because it's something I see a lot, and I've certainly been there myself, where we can need to please and look after others. But very simply, if we're not looking after ourselves, we can't give our best to others, right? And so we kind of end up disrespecting the relationship that's actually going on there.
And if you don't put your own flag in the sand, no motherfucker's going to do it. Like, no one's going to give you permission.
Yes.
You know, like if you want to have next Thursday off and play golf, or go for a surf, or lie in bed all day, nobody's going to say, oh, you should do that. Why don't you do that? I might do it too. You know, they don't, right? But you have to say, I need to do this.
Yeah.
This is what I want. So, I don't know why it's so hard for us, humans, to say, this is what I want.
But it is hard, right? And I think
totally,
we can probably all
me.
relate to that. Yeah, absolutely, right? Drawing a line in the sand, taking ownership of what you need in order to perform and be there for yourself and those people.
And it starts, I reckon it starts at really little things.
So then what about your children? Have you seen a change in them over the last few years in terms of how they see you and converse with you and just interact?
I'll tell you the biggest difference with my kids since I've gotten clean and present for once. Like my kids have never seen me clean, 2 of them, until this moment, you know, so not using and not being shit. So the biggest thing from them, and the 2 oldest ones especially, they articulate what they want. And it's not, I want a Barbie or I want or whatever. It's, I want you to take me to the park and not bring your phone. You know, like well, I can't do that, sorry, but we'll work around it. We'll find a workaround. But, you know, or my little bloke who's 6 loves reading, and he's like, I don't know where it comes from, but he's some sort of genius, right? It must be from his mum. But he wants to read me things all the time.
Yeah.
But the rules are, his rules are that while I'm reading you something, you can't have your phone. My phone's a problem. I don't know whether you're starting to get that. But, you know, but they know that if I'm not with them, I'm not with them.
Not with them, yeah. Interesting. So they have created boundaries.
They've got
and
very
rules.
good boundaries.
Something that we cannot do sometimes.
Yeah, and they say they're told that they're loved all the time, to the point where they'll be like, I know, Dad, you told me, you know. But their ability to hear that, you know, I never had that.
Yeah. And
I don't know how I would have reacted if I did have parents and family who said, I love you all the time.
Yeah.
Not that I wasn't neglected, it's just not something they'd say, you know. It'd be gushy and weird if they did. But for my kids, it's not.
Yeah.
It's 100% natural to say, I love you, or I'm angry at you. Like, to articulate a feeling as a child, as a toddler, is crazy good. When they're like 16, 17, they'll be slaying it. You know, if they can articulate their feelings that much and be present as much as they can. So
you're obviously imparting something on them, right?
Yeah.
But so then, are you able to recognise what's going on in you in terms of an emotion and experience it and express it if need be?
I'm pretty ordinary at that.
Yeah.
My
Better?
not really. I lack insight
Yeah.
into my own mental state, and any changes in my mental state I'm not aware of.
Yeah.
I mentioned before when I was speaking that my wife often says,
Yeah.
is there a meeting you can go to today? Which is the subtitle of that is, you're annoying as fuck, and she can see it start to be,
Yeah.
I can't see that until I'm in the hole.
Yeah.
I've never been able to see it, and I'd love to, but I
Yeah. So, cool. So then we're kind of talking there about in the hole and obviously going downwards, which is kind of what you shared earlier. But what about just other little things and not necessarily downwards? Joy, happiness, everything.
I love that, but I just think I'm not very insightful when it comes to my own stuff. Ironically, when somebody else that I know, a mate of mine, something's happening for him, but he's not articulating to me, I know that.
Yeah, okay.
I have a sense of...
So then do you see that in your children? Are those
totally.
the kind of questions you ask to facilitate them sharing
Totally.
that stuff? Yeah.
But then I can't turn the mirror
So,
on. So,
okay, so then for the parents in the room and for those watching, what do you
Jesus, I'm not giving parenting advice.
What do you actually say? No, you. What do you say to facilitate your children, do you think, to express how they're feeling?
Yeah, really simple. I say to them, what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
He stole that and he hit me with the Lego thing or whatever. Now I'm married to a therapist, right? So caveat there. But the very first thing I say is, how does that make you feel?
Yep.
Because she says that to me constantly. It drives me crazy, like, how does that make you feel? Like, she can't help it. It's a knee-jerk response, But and I say it to them and they'll be like, angry or disappointed or sad or whatever. And we just don't ask children how.
So
how
just
do
a
they
simple
feel.
question.
Simple. How did that make you feel?
Yeah.
And then revisiting it, maybe if it's appropriate to do so, the next day or whatever. And do you remember when he hit you on the head with that Lego thing? Oh, gee, and you felt ... And I go, I did. And in their head and in their face, you can see them say, you remembered that.
Do they ask you that?
No, not so much yet. Not so much yet. But they'll know. So when I went to rehab, my kids, we told my kids that I was going to a hospital, which it is, to work on my feelings. It's true, right?
Yep.
But so now sometimes my 7-year-old will say, maybe you need to go back to the feelings hospital, if I think maybe you need to go to your fucking room, like it's whatever it is. But I feel like that's a really great thing. If they can, they can say to me, "You're annoying me. You've made me sad. You've made me angry," my kids go to a preschool where I hear the teachers say all the time, "Gee, that made me sad," or "That makes me sad if you won't pick that up," or whatever. And it's and you can see these kids really hurt by it. The last thing they want to do is make Miss Wendy sad, so it's kind of emotional blackmail from their behalf, but we've integrated into our parenting as well.
Yeah, but that is a good point, I think, and it's something when we can get into our own adult relationships and we can easily pass blame. You have made me feel, right?
Yep.
Versus ownership, which is I feel right now.
Well, that's
right?
the other thing we say to our
I've
kids.
chosen that, right? To react to and respond to and give meaning to what you've said or done or whatever.
And the other thing we say to our kids is, nobody can make you feel anything. And I think that's something that adults should say to each other too.
Absolutely, yeah.
I was so angry that I went and got on and got fucked up or whatever. Well, hang on, that's completely different things. Our conversation made you feel angry in yourself. I didn't make you angry, and then you made those choices after that.
Absolutely.
I
so
didn't
make
make
a
you use
conversation,
guys,
and I give meaning to that, right?
Yeah.
Which is ownership, and I think it's something James kind of dropped in earlier, and I
Yeah.
know he's spoken about as well.
I think
very
that's
nice.
true. I just don't think anyone can make me feel anything, joy or pain. And in fact, if I resent somebody, which I have a lot of resentment still, I'm still trying to lose them and not pick them up.
Yep. And so this is something, in talking to some of the stuff you shared earlier in your past?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, no.
No? Just
Silly
in
little
general?
things. Just silly little things.
Okay.
That I'll, and if someone's annoying the shit out of me, 9 times out of 10, if I'm really honest and think rationally about that, I see something in them which I don't like in me.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost always. If I really get real and honest,
Yeah.
the reason they shit me is because they're so much like me. Or they show something which I really hate about myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only caveat to that. No one can make you feel anything, because I feel...
Yeah, it's a mirror, right?
Yeah.
So when we judge others, it pays to turn the mirror on ourselves and
Yeah.
say, what am I rejecting in myself right now?
particularly as a codependent person, which most of us are.
So speaking to resentment, you shared some pretty heavy stuff earlier about things that went on in your past.
Yep.
So do you have resentment around that? How do you, an adult, kind of come to terms with and move past some abuse and serious, traumatic stuff when you were younger?
Yeah, slowly, I think is the answer. I would love to say to you that I have forgiven the person who tortured me, really, for a few years as a child, who wasn't in my family, by the way. I would love to say I've forgiven him, but if I see him in the street, I'd love to hit him in the head with a cricket bat. I can't get there. And I've had therapists, and my pretty much full-time therapist says to me, you don't have to forgive him. Why would you forgive him? Like, he's a monster. And so I think we're fed this notion, and I think it's a spirit, not a spirituality, I think it's a religious-based thing where you must forgive everyone. But some people don't deserve it. Some people will never deserve it. And for me, and yet, I should forgive someone if they just cut me off in traffic. That's the difference. Like, the big stuff is hard to let go.
So then, just because I know nothing of the details, but then have you ever thought about what might have happened to that person? What they might have been through in their life to get them to the point of being that person?
The person who perpetrated the sexual abuse against me, I am 100% convinced that the same thing was happening to him at the same time. Just by the words he used with me, the way he spoke to me. He was 15 and I was 13 when it started. So no 15-year-old has that kind of hate in them, has that kind of vitriol, So I'm totally convinced that the same thing was happening to him, and the person who was doing it to him probably was happening or had happened to them before. We keep passing this shit on because we don't get treated for it. Not treated, we don't heal from it.
As James said,
we don't heal from it, so we just pass it on.
But I think that's an important point, right? Everyone's got shit going on. And so, in terms of forgiveness, even if it's for your own soul and peace of mind, everyone has got shit going on.
Look, and I'll tell you something that's really hard for me to come to grips with, and people disagree with me still about this, but I reckon everybody is doing their best at any particular moment in time, given the tools they have at their disposal and given their life experience and given everything else.
Yeah, but those
nobody
are important
sets
points.
out to do. Of course. Hitler was doing his best, but he had some fucked up training. But at that moment, nobody sets out to do less than their best, ever. Like, even if you're really rubbish at something, you're still trying. Even if you have a drug addiction and you, whatever, and you're being neglectful of your wife and you're being a shit dad and you're hopeless at work. Like, when that was me, I was still doing my best. I just don't think we don't ever do less than it. So it's hard when someone really wrongs you, or when I feel a real great resentment against someone. I have to meter that by saying, they're doing their best. They're doing the very best they can in this moment, and I want them to do more, but they just can't.
Yeah. And that's when we start getting into empathy and the enemy of empathy, which is judgment, really.
Oh, yeah.
And a big old can of worms, which
Mate,
might be beyond this conversation.
I can be judgy as anything, don't worry. Yeah. And it's not helpful to me.
Yeah.
It's the old, drinking poison and hoping the other person dies.
Yeah. Nice. And it isn't, right?
Yeah, it's not.
It doesn't serve us. And I think that's, one of the big lessons I'm getting from you in this chat is you're really starting to understand and stamp your feet, draw a line in the sand. This is what I need to look after myself, to serve me, so I can then serve those 4 very important people in my life, right? Which is what you shared earlier.
One slight thing that I'll add to that though is you talk about this is what I need, and if we just talk about what we need all the time, then we forget to ask someone what we want for what we want. And they can be minor, relatively minor things in life, like not wanting to take the garbage out. But that can then turn into being something that I need in the future, completely unrelated. But that judgment, that resentment will last and fester if you don't actually, and it's not hers fault or anyone else in my life's fault if I'm not getting what I want.
Yeah.
That's my fault.
Absolutely, yeah. Doing what serves you, right, and taking responsibility for
creating
that.
a boundary, asking, demanding even, but we just go, oh, well, it's okay.
Yeah, and so, James also spoke about this a little bit earlier in terms of setting direction, right, and I'll speak about it a little bit soon as well. If we don't lead and set direction by asking, by setting boundaries, then we just float, we hand our power away, and all of a sudden things like resentment and so on can come in, right?
And then conversely, you can't give anyone permission to be better either. And we talk about this a lot, this giving of permission, and I just think the more we as humans each stand up and say, this is my boundaries, this is what I want, this is what I need, and this is how I'm feeling, this is what happened to me, this is who I am, this is really beyond the surface who I am, then that gives permission to somebody else who's never said those things. And they might just say it to you, quietly.
Yeah.
But even still, it's up to all of us, regardless of whether you're a counsellor or a thought leader or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go first. Give permission, and I just think we'd be amazed if amazed what you could see the change in people,
Absolutely. And that is what we're kind of here for. So, mate, I want to wrap that talk up there. Thank you so much for going a bit deeper. And to everyone, obviously, in the room, we're going to have a chance to go deeper again and ask some questions of Nick and everyone later on. But Mr. Nick Bowditch, thank you for going beyond the beers.
Too easy, buddy. Thank you.
Click on the link below and go to beyondthebeers.tv. There you can sign in to watch the rest of the episodes for free, as well as all the episodes of the show. Otherwise, make sure you share this episode with at least one man you think will enjoy or benefit from it. Now go out into your own life and start having these more meaningful conversations. Ask for help. Ask a mate how he's really doing. Or if he just wants to have a real conversation and go beyond the beers.